I, 19F, think that the guy, 21M, I have been talking with may be in a relationship. How do I deal with this? Regrettably, the narrative I am about to share is rather lengthy, but documenting it and seeking guidance could genuinely assist with my present emotional turmoil. The situation began approximately a year ago when I was engaged in a video game, and an online acquaintance invited a new player to join our session. I have generally not been attracted to individuals online, and I find it challenging to develop feelings for anyone. However, there was something about this particular person that instantly sparked my interest, though I cannot pinpoint exactly what it was. After he requested my social media accounts, because we got along exceptionally well, we began communicating daily, and I found myself increasingly drawn to him. While I am not typically a very affectionate person at the outset of a relationship, I attempted to be open about my feelings for him. Towards the end of summer, while we were playing together, a friend from his university, whom we will refer to as F, joined us. I also clicked with her, leading to frequent texts and sharing updates about our lives. Given that she was experiencing a difficult period, I didn't want to complicate matters, so I refrained from disclosing my feelings for her friend, although I did admit to having a crush on someone. Things began to deteriorate around September during a phone call when we were discussing our preferences in people. He mentioned that he appreciates a girl's eyes, and, seeking a compliment as a naive girl, I inquired about which eye colors he preferred. That was a significant error. He elaborated on his fondness for blue and green eyes, I have brown, and talked about how his ex possessed the most beautiful blue eyes, definitely not information I needed to hear. This conversation led to my initial emotional meltdown over him. I immediately consulted my friend P regarding what I should do, and he suggested I clarify our relationship status. I was apprehensive, so I tried to simplify my approach and asked, "How do you see me?" He replied, "You are an important person I cannot afford to lose," which I interpreted as clearly platonic, prompting me to surrender, acknowledge my delusions, and cry. Although our daily chats continued, by December, he began to respond less frequently, citing his exams and extensive studying as reasons for his lack of communication. While I didn't enjoy being left on read, I accepted it because of my strong feelings for him. In January, I faced additional struggles when my friend P expressed romantic interest in me, and I felt that turning him down had damaged our friendship. I had no one to confide in since we were in the same friend group, and I didn't want to spill everything to everyone, so I reached out to F. When I mentioned that P and I had spent time alone at my home, she expressed surprise that I hadn't interpreted it as anything other than platonic, especially since the guy I liked had shared how often he hung out with a female friend at her place. I thought nothing of it when he mentioned this, as I have numerous male friends, but I couldn't help but wonder how, as F-Tik's friend, she hadn't heard anything platonic concerning him. So I proceeded to inquire about something that any rational individual would, well, perhaps not entirely rational. I asked her if he was single, to which she responded, "I believe so, we haven't talked in a while." Initially, she was puzzled by my question, but after piecing everything together, she realized I was referring to him. She cautioned me that, in her opinion, he was somewhat of a playboy and conversed with many girls. But as someone infatuated, I convinced myself she must have misunderstood. I know it sounds foolish, but that isn't the real issue here. Following her revelation, I experienced my second emotional breakdown over that man, leading me to send him a long message in which I expressed my frustration. I explained how he had taken advantage of my feelings, how he had played dumb to maintain my attention, and how his consistent joking flirtation led me to take him seriously. I expressed my desire for clarity regarding when he was genuine and when he was not. His reply stated he had no idea I was interested in him and mentioned that, although he initially liked me, my unresponsiveness led him to move on. This conversation allowed me to partially move on because his handling of the situation was so intolerable. He continued portraying himself as the victim, lamenting, "Oh, I should have known we could have had a great relationship. I feel so bad for myself, blah, blah." Can you guess what I did next? I informed him that I was going to move past him and inquired if I could visit him in his country, noting that while we reside on the same continent, our countries are not particularly close, to which he promptly agreed. In the weeks that followed, our interactions intensified, becoming friendlier, but he slowly began asking if he could join me at my hotel, adding a sexual undertone to his requests. I was quite taken by him, so I immediately consented. One day, while chatting with F, she mentioned that the guy I liked told her he had rekindled communication with a girl he had previously been interested in, who had asked him to wait. He reportedly expressed happiness about this development, and his best friend told F they had met, suggesting that their relationship might be more serious than anticipated. As fate would have it, I experienced my third emotional breakdown, which prompted me to call him. I commenced the conversation by asking what his intentions were for my hotel visit, as I needed to be certain I wasn't falling into another delusion. He essentially informed me that he wanted to engage in sexual activity. After confirming that detail, I confessed I had been overthinking things and asked if he had a girlfriend, to which he quickly denied it. I told him that if he entered a relationship, I would be unwilling to engage with him physically, as it would not only affect us but an additional person as well, and I refused to be heartless, hoping he would feel the same. Following that call, our discussions became increasingly explicit, culminating in the exchange of nude photos multiple times and even phone sex. We continued to converse more often, maintaining a friendly tone with calls lasting up to 8 hours daily. I did not allow myself to believe this could evolve into a relationship, nor did he, as he had made it clear that our interactions were casual and he didn't want me to get my hopes up. I claim to have mostly moved on from him, though that's quite humorous. Now, we arrive at the most recent dilemma, which sparked my fourth emotional breakdown. I informed F that I wanted to refrain from learning more about the girl unless he officially entered into a relationship, at which point I would draw the line. As we conversed, she revealed that she could no longer hold back and mentioned that approximately 2 weeks ago, around the time we had our phone call and increased our explicit exchanges, he mentioned to her that he was preparing a Valentine's gift for the girl he liked. When she inquired whether they were official, he responded, "I suppose," adding, "We do some couple things." What kind of response is that? So now, what should I do? I have attempted multiple times to trust him again and convince myself that I am misinterpreting the situation, but this time, that perspective does not hold. I am far too emotionally invested to simply cut him out of my life. I recognize that I should do so, but I am at a loss regarding how to manage it. I don't know how to move on from him, though honestly, that's less of a priority. I am just incredibly upset with him, and perhaps expressing this will help. I have a solo trip planned to see him, which I worked hard to arrange, and I do not know how to address this without involving F. I still desire him, and the past 2 weeks have intensified my feelings, but I would never pursue anything with a committed individual. I feel so guilty, yet deeply sad and exploited. He assured me he didn't want me to feel used, and I told him not to worry, but the entire relationship situation inevitably leads me to feel that way. Story 2. Don't want to fix my issue. Well, I think it's time for a new CTO. I would like to express that this information technology issue is going to astound many people. The security vulnerability that was revealed is nothing short of extraordinary. Furthermore, the fact that we have not experienced a significant security breach is remarkable. It truly is. You may wonder about the flaw. Every password within the company was identical. Yes, you read that correctly, each employee used the same password for their login credentials. This was in place before I joined the organization and continued for several years afterward. Until, well, enjoy the story. What about the username? That must have been the tricky part, right? Oh yes, that was indeed a trick. The username was simply the employee's email address. I pointed this flaw out to my management, and their response was, "That is not our area of concern, so whatever. It paid well, and I did my job." Then one day, we had a Windows update that caused a portion of the software I used at work to malfunction. I submitted a help ticket, and after escalating the issue, I reached the chief technology officer, which was manageable since it wasn't a large company. The chief technology officer stated, "I do not want to spend time fixing this. Use this workaround." To which I explained that the workaround slows down efficiency, complicates my job further, and it is likely that the Windows update affects more than just me. I was told to simply accept it. At that time, the chief executive officer was the son of the founder and somewhat of a fool. I genuinely believe he was merely collecting a paycheck. allowing everything to run on autopilot and not paying attention. However, I was frustrated with the chief technology officer for dismissing my concerns, so I decided to write an email to the chief executive officer. It was a brief email in which I simply stated, "I have discovered a significant security vulnerability that could potentially expose us to major liabilities. When would be an appropriate time to discuss this?" What was the response? "What security vulnerability?" I decided to demonstrate the flaw. I selected 2 random salespeople, whom I did not know, obtained their usernames, logged into their systems, and retrieved personal information for 2 unrelated customers. The sort of information that could easily enable me to commit identity theft, take out credit in their names, and all sorts of other malicious acts. I emailed the chief executive officer and explained, "Anyone with the URL to log into our system can access any employee's account, retrieve customer information, and everyone has the same password." To validate this, I accessed 2 random employees' accounts and retrieved 2 different customer profiles. I have attached them as evidence. One disgruntled employee could severely harm us. 25 minutes later, my phone rang. It was the chief executive officer. He was cordial and very interested in how I performed this. He is not the sharpest tool in the shed. I explained the flaw in straightforward terms and the liability it presented to him. I guided him through the process of hacking into my own account, as he referred to it. I hesitated to call it hacking because it was so simplistic. It finally dawned on the chief executive officer that this liability was substantial. I reiterated during our conversation that a single upset employee could ruin us. The fact that this had not occurred already was nothing short of miraculous. I was informed that they wanted me to present this issue to the executive team so they could discuss a solution. Honestly, the solution was glaringly obvious. A day later, we held a conference call with the chief executive officer, the chief technology officer, the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer, the company attorney, the senior vice president, and others. During the call, I demonstrated the flaw and laid out how I, as a layperson with minimal IT background, was able to identify this issue. It was astonishing that we had such a vulnerability. Everyone agreed it was a significant problem except for the chief technology officer. The chief technology officer became quite upset with me and expressed that he wanted me terminated for hacking the system. He claimed that according to our employee handbook, what I did was a terminable offense. I pointed out that I was not abusing this loophole. I was merely trying to expose the flaw because I genuinely cared about the company, and I believed it required urgent attention. I emphasized that a former disgruntled employee could log into an account and steal customers' personal information, and if that were traced back to us, the liability would be immense. I could tell our corporate attorney agreed with my position and was taken aback by what I was demonstrating. The chief technology officer claimed that former employees' usernames are disabled, to which I countered. Every employee's username is their email address. It would be trivial for a former disgruntled employee to use a different employee's email address that they remember to log in. Moreover, since everyone shares the same password, they would not even need to guess. The chief technology officer asserted that we would track the perpetrator via the IP address. I pointed out that virtual private networks are indeed a reality. The corporate attorney actually was not familiar with what VPNs do, and I explained it to him. What surprised me was that throughout the entire meeting, the only person who did not agree this flaw required rectification was the chief technology officer. The chief executive officer made it clear that this issue would be resolved by the end of business that day, and there would be no exceptions. The meeting concluded. Following the meeting, the chief technology officer called me privately. He was furious. I had just exposed his incompetence, as the system was his design, and the decision for everyone to use the same password was his choice. I understood why he did it because he was lazy. I addressed the chief technology officer directly. "You are an ineffective chief technology officer. You do not belong in this position, and you are lazy. You should have devised a better solution for my help ticket." He paused and asked, "So this is about your trivial help ticket?" I replied, Yes, it is." He laughed and vowed to have me terminated, to which I responded, "I am quite certain someone will be fired, but I am very confident it will not be me." Sure enough, later that day, we received an email stating that everyone was required to change their passwords to unique ones. A week later, the chief executive officer announced that the former chief technology officer had stepped down to spend more time with his family. On the first day of the new chief technology officer's tenure, he sent me an email requesting to personally work on my help ticket and find a solution for the Windows update, which I am pleased to say he accomplished. Later, I had discussions with our attorney at a meeting. We genuinely had never experienced a security breach. This was simply astonishing. The attorney admitted that it was pure luck on our part, and had we experienced a security breach, it would have been extremely detrimental to us.